Today we're looking at Abraham Lincoln's home. Hello, welcome to the Daily Bellringer. Please don't forget to subscribe and take a look at the questions down in the description. Also, don't forget to check out dailybellringer.com where you'll find more resources that go with many of the Bellringer videos. Abraham Lincoln is remembered as one of the most important presidents in American history. Before leading the country through the Civil War, Lincoln spent almost 24 years living here in Springfield, Illinois. Today I'm here in Springfield, Illinois, in front of the house Lincoln called home for nearly 17 years. Between the years of 1844 and 1861, Lincoln raised his family, worked on his law career, and prepared for his rise to the presidency here in Springfield. In 1844, Abraham Lincoln and his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, bought their Springfield house for about $1,500. At the time, the home was a small one-story cottage with only a few rooms. Lincoln was 35 years old and working as a lawyer. The couple had recently married in 1842 and wanted a place to raise their growing family, as in 1843, Mary Todd had given birth to their first son, Robert. Over the years, the Lincolns remodeled and expanded the house several times, even adding a second story to the home as their family became larger. Lincoln's career as a lawyer required him to travel, working on legal matters in small communities throughout the state of Illinois. This left Mary at home alone with the children for many weeks at a time. In 1846, Lincoln was elected to the United States House of Representatives, where he only served one term. During this time, he traveled to Washington to serve in Congress while Mary and the children stayed at the Springfield home. Even though Lincoln spent time away, Springfield remained his true home. The Lincoln family experienced both happiness and sadness inside the home. In 1846, their second son, Edward, often called Eddie, was born. Another son, William or Willie Lincoln, was born in 1850, and Thomas or Tad Lincoln was born in 1853. The home was filled with children, laughter, games, and a busy family life. However, tragedy struck the family in 1850 when young Eddie became ill with typhoid fever and died at only 4 years old. Eddie's funeral took place in the parlor of the Lincolns' home. Eddie's death deeply affected Abraham and Mary Lincoln as they mourned the loss of their little boy. Shortly after, during the 1850s, Lincoln's political career began to grow. While living in the home, he became more involved in the debates about the issue of slavery and the future of the United States. In 1854, Congress passed the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which allowed new territories to decide whether slavery would be allowed there. Lincoln strongly opposed the spread of slavery and began getting more actively involved in politics. In 1858, Lincoln challenged Stephen A. Douglas for his seat in the United States Senate. Lincoln and Douglas engaged in a series of debates across the state during the Illinois Senate race. Although Lincoln did not win the Senate seat, the debate made him well known throughout the country, and many within the newly formed Republican Party saw Lincoln as a potential candidate for president. In May of 1860, in the front parlor of the home, Lincoln accepted the Republican nomination to run for president. Supporters often visited the house during the campaign, and newspapers wrote stories about Lincoln's simple lifestyle. In November of 1860, Lincoln won the presidential election. Crowds gathered outside this home to celebrate the victory. As Lincoln prepared to leave Springfield in February of 1861, he knew the country was on a course heading for civil war. Southern states had already begun leaving the Union. On February 11, 1861, before boarding the train to Washington, Lincoln gave an emotional farewell speech to friends and neighbors of Springfield. Lincoln stated, "My friends, no one not in my situation can appreciate my feeling of sadness at this parting. To this place and the kindness of these people, I owe everything. Here I have lived a quarter of a century and have passed from a young to an old man. Here my children have been born and one is buried. I now leave not knowing when or whether ever I may return." Although Lincoln did plan to return to Springfield after the presidency, tragically he did not live to complete his terms in office, as he was assassinated in April of 1865. The Lincoln home passed to Lincoln's oldest son, Robert. In 1887, Robert Lincoln sold the home to the state of Illinois for $1 on the condition that it would be maintained as a historic site and that no one would be charged admission to visit the home. Today, the house is preserved as the Lincoln Home National Historic Site by the National Park Service. Visitors can walk through the rooms where Lincoln once lived and learn about the important events that happened here. The home helps people understand how Lincoln's years in Springfield shaped him into a leader who guided the nation during one of its most difficult times. So with that, hopefully you learned something, and thanks for watching.